And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Thursday mornings, flying weather looking like this. Solid IFR for the Bering Sea. The Aleutians up the north side of the Alaska Peninsula, then up along the west coast here. Norton Sound right up into the western Brooks Range, and then up off the Arctic coast with VFR for the eastern Arctic coast up there. Southward into the interior until you get down toward the North Gulf Coast, and you pick up a band of IFR right through here into western Prince William Sound, southern Kenai Peninsula, down into Kodiak Island. Mostly marginal VFR for the southeast coast, and for the afternoon, that improves dramatically to VFR that extends well off the coastline. Gulf of Alaska, though, marginal VFR, and some marginal VFR south central Alaska up to the Alaska Range. But north of the mountains on up to the eastern Arctic coast, VFR. Kuskokwim Valley down into northeast Bristol Bay, also VFR. Still lots of IFR out over the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. Northward here into the Chukchi Sea and extending even farther eastward in across the Brooks Range and North Slope, actually getting over east of the central Arctic coast. And then for Friday morning, that area of IFR shifts even farther to the east now and kind of starts to thin out up in this area. But for the Brooks Range, a lot of IFR there, a lot of IFR for the Bering Sea and the Aleutians, and some mixed conditions here over southern Alaska, and then mostly VFR for the east side down into the southeast coast. And for the afternoon, VFR holds here for the Panhandle, good VFR over southern Alaska, and as well as the western interior and the eastern interior. A little bit of marginal VFR here in the central part of the state. Expands as you go north across the Brooks Range, covering the eastern North Slope up there, as well as the Beaufort Sea coastline. And still a lot of IFR here out over the Bering Sea, but pulling back to the west here with IFR for Nunivak Island up to St. Lawrence Island, and then marginal VFR hugging the coastline, extending down to Unalaska Island. Passes for Anaktuvik. Call it marginal VFR tomorrow, but Adigan I think will be VFR far enough east. And for Lake Clark and Merrill, marginal VFR at times. Rainy, mostly VFR. And for windy, marginal. Isabel, marginal. Mentasta, VFR, and then back to marginal VFR for Tanita at times throughout the day Thursday. It could be VFR at other times. Portage, still looking at the IFR chances on the eastern entrance, otherwise marginal VFR. Pretty good bet at this point in time. Chilkoot and White, VFR. Freezing levels, 8,000 feet here, southeast interior down to along the Panhandle there. 6,000 feet up and off the Arctic coast, and then anywhere from 8,000 feet here north of St. Lawrence Island to 12,000 feet along the Aleutians and southern Bering Sea. And for icing, moisture here streaming eastward. We've got some considerable moderate rime icing in areas here from the eastern Arctic coast down into the north central interior, and here over the eastern Aleutians with a weak disturbance in that area, and then more moisture out to the west, increasing the icing chances for the southwest Bering Sea. And for the southeast coast, the heavier icing will stay off to the southwest there, but look for some isolated moderate possibly over areas of the Panhandle. And for the jet stream, generally westerly flow here in the northern interior, anywhere to 50 to 75 knots. And then out to the west, high pressure, 33,000 feet. North flow here coming around the eastern side of that high, and the backside of this low near Nunivak Island up to 95 knots as it blows down across the east central Aleutians. 9,000 feet, westerly 35 knots here over the Kuskokwim Valley, northern Kuskokwim Valley. Turn west-southwest 45 knots over the Yukon Flats and the central North Slope. And then 45 knot westerlies for the central or the western Aleutians, become northwest at 40 for the Fox Islands. 3,000 feet, this wind field here associated with this low off to the southwest, starting to creep in toward the south coast of the Panhandle. Otherwise, light winds here across southern Alaska. Southwesterlies up to 35 knots over the interior. Light winds to the central and eastern Bering Sea. But this system here brings some 35 knot winds in toward the eastern Aleutians, anywhere from 40 to 50 knots farther to the west. Turbulence-wise, with those stronger winds out west here, look for considerable moderate turbulence there, shimmying that too to the Komodorskis. Otherwise, isolated moderate, possible for the central eastern Beaufort Sea coastline and along the Yukon River here in the interior.